Soram Cheon, thank you for joining us. And you are coming to us from Charlotte, North Carolina, where today, on March the 3rd, there's going to be a presidential primary vote. And we wanted to have you tell us a bit about what you found as you talked about Democrats and to some of the Trump voters. The president, as we speak, just had a rally down there last night that you covered. Let's start, though, if we might, where you were out talking to some of the Democratic voters. And what kind of reaction did you get from the Democratic voters at one of the events that you covered?
I met lots of Democratic supporters, but they said no matter who the nominee will be, they said they will vote for Democrat, and they were pretty optimistic about North Carolina turning blue.
And what kind of issues were the Democrats mostly focused on?
They were focused on, okay, I talked to supporter with Bloomberg, and they were talking about health care policy.
Their policies on the economy, was it, or was it more or race relations? What was more on of the Democrats' ideas that they were focused on?
When I talked to Bloomberg supporter, they were focusing on economic policy, and they said they believe that Bloomberg is the only one who can beat Donald Trump because he's a businessman and he went through 9/11 crisis. So yeah, they were concerned about economy.
And have there been any polls down there released that you know of? Do we have any idea who is in the lead at this point on the Democratic side?
I'm not sure. So the early vote has been done, but the voting for Spring Day is happening right now. So the polling is gonna be available this night.
Okay. And then last night, or yesterday afternoon, we should say, you also covered the Trump rally. The president has a strategy that I think people are aware of. When the Democrats are about to have a primary, the president goes down there and has a rally to kind of steal some of their thunder. But on the other hand, they're also going to be voting for the president, even though he doesn't have any opposition. And it's in his interest as well to go out there and greet his voters and his supporters. So you went out to where the Trump supporters were lined up, and I guess they get there some hours before the event starts. Is that right?
Yeah. So actually, I went there like 10 a.m. to set my camera and tripod, and there were still lots of supporters, and I heard that some of them came there from 4 a.m. just to get in the first line of the rally.
Wow. Well, you interviewed some of those rally supporters of the president and asked them both why they support the president and which Democrat that they most fear. Let's take a listen to some of the replies from the Trump supporters.
He changed the Veterans Administration to make it easier so that our veterans could be seen and not just at the Veterans Hospital.
He's made a lot of promises and he's been keeping his promises. Also, when it comes to the economy, he's been bolstering the economy and making it a lot better than what it's been. When it comes to communities like the black community, he's done a lot for the African American community. Also, even with the schools, the HBCUs, he's made it to where they permanently get funding by the government to help fund the schools. So I don't fear any for becoming the nominee of the Democratic Party because I already know Trump's going to win. But fear to become president, I would have to say Bernie Sanders because I don't understand how he could, financially make a run. And if he did try to do it, I feel like it would destroy our economy in the United States.
If Bernie wins, just think, the Democrats talked and talked and talked for 3 years about Russia, and now they're gonna, and now they want the Democratic front runner, who's a communist. I'll be honest with you, I really don't fear any of them. The only one I really fear is Bernie, because if Bernie wins it and he happens to take the White House, where is this country going?
So where's the country going, according to that Trump supporter, if Bernie wins? And I think this is really an unusual presidential election, certainly one in my lifetime. We should tell the viewers that Soram Cheon is with the Medill School of Journalism at Northwestern University and comes to us from South Korea. So you're not going to necessarily know this is unusual, in part because, as we just have seen, yesterday, or in the last couple of days, we had two other candidates drop out of the race, Amy Klobuchar, Senator Klobuchar, and Mayor Pete, who they are both supporting now Joe Biden. And it seems to be really come down to a three-way race. There are four candidates, but you either have Bernie Sanders, you have Mike Bloomberg, or you have Vice President Biden. And here a lot of people thought Vice President Biden's campaign was about to fail until he won last week on the South Carolina vote. So do you have, Sharon, do you have any polling data or indication of how the vote might go there today in North Carolina?
So according to 538, Biden is leading by, and Sanders is the second of the polling.
And when we had this election, as I mentioned just a little bit ago, I'm a little curious because you do come to us from as a visiting student from South Korea.
Yeah.
What is your reaction to the American way of picking presidents?
It's really confusing for me. We do popular vote, so we don't do primary in Korea. So it took me a long time for me to understand the system here.
When, one of the things about the American presidential election is it goes on and on and on. It really takes almost 2 years before we get to the end of it. Does that seem strange? How long does is like a Korean presidential election?
Korean presidential election, it goes long, but not that long compared to here. And the party, we don't choose the nominee of the party. It's the party who chooses the nominee.
And I don't mean to put you on the spot. Maybe you know, maybe you don't know. But since we're talking to someone who is familiar with South Korea, which is a strong American ally,
Yeah.
do the Koreans follow the American presidential race, and do they care who wins? Do you have any idea how the Koreans feel about it?
Yes, they do follow American election, but not close enough to know what the difference between primary election and presidential election for them. But they do follow the election.
And you are down again, as we say, in North Carolina. You're in Charlotte, North Carolina, taking a look at the vote down there for us. We appreciate you joining us, and hopefully we can do this again. Are you going to be covering some of the other primaries between now and the end of the primary season?
Now that I know right now, but I might be, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, Soram Cheon, thank you so much for joining us from Charlotte, North Carolina, and thanks for your reporting. And hopefully we'll connect with you again.
Thank you.